There are things that we don't get to talk about much, if at all. Frankly, I think people are going to get annoyed if I'm talking about it right now, but I'm speaking to the men who are probably carrying way too much, who have a lot to worry about, who have people depending on them, whether it's work, money, business, worried about the past, the future, but then people complain when he's not present. I feel like that there's a pandemic of men who are silently sacrificing and end up suffering for this. You know, I work in mental health. I've worked in mental health for the last 14 years. And I currently oversee a unit full of men, 18 and up, who are all under conservatorship. Meaning the county has decided that, this man no longer has the ability to make decisions for himself. I wonder every day when I visit some of the clients there, what happened to these guys? Because at some point, I think they were in my shoes. That being said, I feel like all men are one step away from living in a psychiatric facility. I'm not complaining. People think like, "Oh, guys bitch all the time about this stuff," but no, I'm talking about the realities of being a man in this time, right? The modern man who, let's say, has a family, the one who wants to be present, but also is asked to provide, who wants to provide, who wants to be able to give his family, his wife, his children, the life that they deserve. That man, I think today is very quiet. Maybe society made him feel like he had to be quiet. I'm going to tell you right now that there are amazing men out there, strong men, who just stay silent. And his volume is a reflection on how much he weighs himself against the problems that he's dealing with. I look at 5 different things that men are asked to do in this world. Now that I'm a father especially, I think everyone expects us to prepare for what's to come, for what can come, to protect those who he loves, especially his family, to provide for the life that they deserve, that they want to live, to preside over a household, to lead a family towards a good life, a better life, and I think towards faith. And that's where the 5th thing comes in. A man is asked to propitiate. To propitiate is to earn God's favor, to be worthy of God's strength, to be worthy of God's gifts and blessings. I look at those 5 things, and those are things we don't get to talk about a lot. The Mindsman is the name I gave that man, the reliable man, the one who shows up, the one who doesn't ask for acknowledgement, the one that does love appreciation but doesn't ask for it, the man who's quietly working every day, not just in what he has to do, but who he has to be, the one who's probably carrying all the weight. If what I'm talking about right now is something you can relate to, I think you're in the right place. I don't have all the answers, but I'm also a man searching for the best way to live this life, not just for myself, but for others. When I created Mindsmen, it was basically because of what I've seen. I've seen a lot of reliable men lose it all. And I'm talking not just work. I'm talking they lost their loved ones, their family, their support system. They've lost the ability to even choose what they can do every day. I think that this is a big problem in our world today, and we don't get to talk about it a lot, which is why I'm kind of bringing it here. The Mindsman podcast is going to be these types of thoughts, these types of conversations that I would hope move people forward, move men forward, and to help them continue to march forward to be the one that people rely on. There was a point in my life where I became dead, working myself to the bone, 3 different jobs while finishing school. Even school was something that they told me I should do, right? At this point, I realized, yeah, I finished school and it helped me get where I'm at now. But as far as a vocation, I found a new vocation in life when I became a father. But you're probably listening to this thinking like, yeah, this is me. That was me. And that's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm focused on. Because the guys that I interact with in a psychiatric facility, right, at some point they were the reliable man. At some point they did take on the mantle of having people depend on them. They had the mantle of carrying the burden for the family and those that depend on him. And it came down to decisions. When I was working that much, I feel like I was dead at some point. Even unemotional when it came to work and when it came to showing up for people. I got cold. I was burning hot inside, but I got ice cold with other people. And I realized that that's not a way to live. I look at that guy, that older version of me, and he was dead. I was beaten by the world, man. The grind, the daily grind. Now that I'm a husband, now that I became a father, it's a commitment that I made now. To be able to do everything and carry all the weight and all the burden, but still show up for my family. So I might have been dead at a time. I might have been beaten at a certain point in my life. But I refuse to be a deadbeat father. In this world today, I think men and fathers even are looked down upon. And to me, that shouldn't matter. That doesn't really affect how I live day to day because I know what I do. God knows what I do. God knows who I am. And it's not even just the work that I do. It's who I'm striving to become. Everything that I wrote here in the Mindsmen brand, the podcast, and the community platform that's opening up this September, everything encompasses giving that man the fuel to light his fires. And there are 5 fires that I want to acknowledge in every man's life. And it's the 5 things that we all struggle with every day that we don't get to talk about. From the outside in, we're talking financial peace, the ability to provide, or even have peace with the numbers in our bank account, being able to provide enough where we're not struggling or worried about the paycheck to paycheck that we used to be worried about. Next one is fitness. And I'm not just talking about aesthetics. I'm talking about being fit to serve, being physically capable, to physically carry loads, to physically protect. Focus is the third one. And this is where I talk about mental health. This is when we're talking about emotional resilience. I know that men are highly emotional. We're very emotional beings. But being able to be resilient enough to handle the ebbs and flows and storms of the world without breaking, without lashing out at people, without abusing the physical power that we might have over other people. It's about being capable of being a dangerous man, but knowing how to control it. We're going a little deeper with the 4th fire. Now we're talking family. Of course, if you're married with children, you're talking about your wife and your kids. But I'm talking family in regards to anybody in your close circle of people who depend on you, people who need you to show up. That could be a team. It could be in business. The people who depend on you to show up every day is who I would call family. Not just show up, but be a reliable man. The deepest fire that I usually talk about is, it's ironic because it's the deepest to me, but it's also the highest. It's the most deep, the most high, and that's the faith fire. You know, as a man in this world, especially, you actually have a compass that you use, and that could be philosophy, it could be stoicism, it could be all different types of religions. I'm not talking about a specific religion for me. I'll be honest with you. I've grown up in the Catholic faith. I've had my faith tested, and I've circled all around and researched all around. And things have happened in my life where I ended up coming back to the Catholic faith. That everything that I realized and learned outside of it led me back to it. So I'm undeniably a Catholic by choice now. And my moral compass, my way of life, the model that I follow in life is based on the Christian Catholic faith. And, you know, we don't have to agree on religion, your daily practices and who you worship, who you bow down to. We all worship something. It could be money. It could be something that the world tells us to worship, think about all the time and focus our energy into. But if we focus on something that nourishes our life, not just our wallets, and we have faith in a higher power, I would say that we're on the same path. Those 5 fires, financial peace, fitness, focus, family, and faith, those are all the 5 fires that men are dealing with. These are things that I worry about every day. Knowing how to not just balance these fires, but know what to turn up, what to turn down. Maybe this fire is burning really hot. Maybe this fire needs a lot more fuel. It's learning that the different measures between the 5 can help us every day. Those 5 fires are what encompasses what the Mindsman is all about. And how to become a Mindsman is knowing when to turn up the fuel on certain fires. And it's being dynamic in whatever life circumstances are in front of you. It's about being the man of all seasons. It's about being the all-around man that knows when to show up without losing himself. Knowing when to burn hot and get things done. Sometimes getting ice cold. If you burn hot, the Mindsman thinks about not burning the ones that helped you get there. You can get ice cold and get things done, build, but being also careful not to freeze out the ones who depend on you. There is a way, and I think that's one of the biggest challenges that I'm trying to tackle with Mindsmen. It's the idea that I was given, it was an idea that I heard, that you can't have it all. I truly believe you can. You can have it all. You're the all-around man, the man of all seasons. And it's focusing on all those 5 different fires and getting them lit up in your life. Now, some people can live their entire life with 2 or 3 of these fires, maybe even 1, and you can live an entire life with that. But if you ask me, if you can have all 5 burning in the right amounts at every given moment, you're who I would call the reliable man. The one who shows up and not loses himself. The one who gives without losing everything. You could feel dead, beaten, but you'll never be a deadbeat to anybody around you. This is Mindsmen. And if this message resonates with you, stick around. We're going to dive into a lot more topics in order to be the best versions of ourselves in this world, in this life, because we're only here for a little bit.